Hello, welcome back to Healing Mama Podcast. I am Val, aka Healing Mama, and we are on episode 21.
Wow, already 21. That's
21.
crazy.
So, this is leading us into the Father's Day episode, and I have a special guest with me today, my best friend.
Hi.
Introduce yourself.
For those of you who don't know me, you're lost.
His name is Rudy. He is on another podcast in the San Antonio area. He is on.
I am on a podcast, Sports Pub Radio, and it's a podcast locally here in San Antonio where we just deal on everything chisme in San Antonio and surrounding areas. I've been dabbling with a little bit of counties outside of there.
Okay. We'll go ahead and kick off with quotes. I have one and Rudy has one as well. So my quote is, "It no longer bothers me that I may be constantly searching for father figures. By this time, I have found several and dearly enjoyed knowing them all." So for me, I, as you know, didn't have my dad in my life. And we'll get into like our situations. But I feel like I did look for father figures. Like my grandpa kind of took that place for
I feel
my
like I'm
dad.
still looking.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Yeah. And so I feel like, my grandpa took that place, and then my father-in-law took the place as well because
Temporary fulfillments.
Exactly. So my father-in-law took that place because he became like another stable figure, male figure. My uncles, and so you kind of look for what you didn't have. Because you see it, you have like family members, cousins, then you're like, hey, like they have that.
Yeah.
And you kind of miss it and you want it and you're like, hey, I've never got to experience that.
I think it's more than a miss and a want. It's almost like a need, like a need.
A yearning.
Yeah, you're yearning for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I still do with that daily.
Yeah. And then another thing is I was looking at the statistics of, fatherless children. So in Caucasians, 1 in every 4 child is without their father. In Latinos, 1 in every 3 is without their father. And in African Americans, 1 in every 2. So 50%.
Wow.
So it's like kind of crazy to
says a
think
lot.
about it. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Our minority populations, the ones that are really, really struggling, not to say Caucasians aren't struggling, but, they have a different 1 in every 4.
Yeah.
That's a quarter of their population. So
Why did you choose that quote?
because I feel like that is something that I did yearn for. Like I felt like I was always trying to find a father figure and hold on to that because, for example, the first memory or experience I can think of in finding a father figure or looking for that was my cousins had their dad, right? So they learned how to ride a bike, take off the training wheels, and I was stuck there on training wheels. And so they were like, you're still riding with training wheels? So my grandpa took off the training wheels. He's the one who was like, okay, Mija, like we're gonna do this. And that's something a dad's supposed to do. So that's the first memory that I can think of. And when my grandpa passed away, my dad was hurt because I had put a comment on Facebook or on Instagram and I said, to the one man that's never left my side, I'm hurting for that man. So he took it personal. He's like, wow, like that was a slap in my face. But that was a slap in your face because you allowed that to happen. You didn't take the place of my father.
When was that?
When my grandpa passed away. Yeah. And so, he was like, well, that hurt my feelings. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that hurt your feelings, but that's my truth. And if you feel some type of way about it, I'm sorry, but that's my truth. You didn't step in to fill those shoes as the one man that never left my side. My grandpa did.
Yeah.
Like my grandpa had conversations with Andres, talked to Andres as if like he was my father. What is your quote?
My quote is very short and simple. It's a quote that I've carried for a really long time. And it's straight to the point. It's not something, and yours was a great quote, by the way.
Yeah.
But mine, if I had to, and believe me, like I was telling you about, I have a lot of quotes. I have a lot of hard-hitting quotes when it comes to like having an absent father in my life. My favorite one says, it takes nothing to disappear and everything to heal from it. And I relate to that quote like probably the strongest because I am actively currently still healing
Mhm.
from the trauma that has been put in my life regarding my father and his existence and his participation in my life and just the whole whirlwind that he created when I was a child. I'm still
Healing.
actively healing because of it.
Talk to us about that though. Talk to us about your childhood and what that looked like.
Well, it's so crazy because I actually have a vivid memory of me being 4 years old, and I could remember exactly what I was wearing, what I was doing, where I was standing. So, this is something that's not a lot of people really know, but most friends and family know. My father was a very abusive man. He used to beat my mother. He used to beat my mother really bad. Uh, and he the image that I have in my head, like if you were to ever, for people who don't have their fathers in their lives, or maybe they left when they were a child, if you were to close your eyes and just imagine an image of your father, the image that I carried my entire life is just an image of me being at the bedroom door of my mother's bedroom while my mother is in the closet on the floor and my dad is beating her up. Kind of like the movie Halloween, where Laurie Strode's in the closet and
Mhm.
Michael Myers is there. So that's exactly how my image of it. And my dad looking back at me and my mom like, close the door, close the door, close the door. And then,
Trying to shelter you from that. Your
yeah,
mom was trying to shelter
yeah,
you.
for sure, for sure. It wasn't until, well, that's the image I have of him, but it wasn't until years later that I realized how abusive he was because as I got older, my mother would tell me things like, oh, your dad did this, your dad did this. But when I was about 10 or 11, my mother was really good in playing pool. And I always thought to myself, wow, she's just probably really good because she practices a lot. She plays in all these leagues. But then I found out that she played pool really good because my dad would force her to play. And if she lost, she would get beat up.
Mm.
My dad would beat her up. And then my dad was such a sore loser that he would wait outside the bar for the guy or the girl that lost, and he would rob them and take their money after they lost the game. And then he would beat my mom up. So my mom said, I'm good in pool because I was forced to by your father.
It was a survival.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, it was a survival tactic. So how do you feel about like how did you feel, as a teen, remembering that and knowing that and then turning into an adult and taking that in?
Wow. That is a tough question to answer because growing up, just like everybody else, I was yearning for some type of father figure. My mother always short-term dated, right? She was very independent. She didn't need or rely any man in her life to take care of her or her kids. I always tell people my mother's been married to her career. She's a career woman and she travels all over the world and
Strong-willed.
yeah, very strong will, very I independent, very, you know, I don't need nobody
Mhm.
mentality. So when she dated, it was always brief interactions with men, if that. You know what I mean? I think the longest was like 5 or 6 years.
Which is a good amount of time.
It really is.
Yeah, it's
It
not really
really is.
short.
But I was already an adult and
Yeah.
I was already living on my own. But during my teen years where I'm, middle school, elementary, high school, even my beginning years of college, I never had a real solid father figure to do anything. I taught my own self how to drive standard. You know what I mean? I taught myself how to shave and how to clean, take care of myself and clean up.
I'm gonna stop you right there. So you taught yourself how to shave, right? That's a pretty pivotal moment in like a young man's life, like my son Andres taught him how to shave. I don't know if Andres' dad taught him, but like I see that as like here's son, like here's a becoming of a man. Here's the entrance to manhood. Let me teach you how to shave. That's pretty
I
deep.
I taught my stepson how to shave.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this. When you started and you were like, okay, it's now time to shave, did you ever stop and think like, damn, I don't have my dad, and like that sink in and hurt you for a second, or it was just like you were so used to it, you were just going and surviving?
I don't know. I feel like it was just built into my head that I do not have my father here, and I never thought about it as much. The trauma was always boiling,
Mm-hmm.
but I was learning how to mask it,
Yes.
and
Like
so
push it aside.
yeah,
It doesn't
I was back
exist.
burner.
Yeah.
I was put it on the back burner, focused on real world problems.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that is because, like, I don't know, maybe it's different from guys to girls, but like, I would tell you every Father's Day, I bawled my eyes out,
Yeah.
right? I bawled my eyes out because I remember not having my dad. So, like, I would look at my cousins, hey, where are you going? We're going to my dad's family, you know? And where was I? I was stuck with my mom. And that's not like necessarily a bad thing towards my mom, but it's like, I was the one kid that didn't have a dad to go to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was the one kid that, like, you know, in like when I went to church with my grandma, like it was Father's Day, they taking pictures with their dads, and I'm just like kind of like
Or not
fatherless.
uh also yearning for that extended family.
Exactly, like your dad's side of the
Grandma,
family.
different
Yeah, yeah,
grandpa,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted as well.
So, like, did you feel like that growing up? Like on Father's Day, did that hit hard for you?
Oh yeah, I would cry. I cry to this day. And it's something that I can't even explain. It just happens. I think out of just years and years and years of just it boiling, it happens. I don't even think as of right now being 36 years old, 37, I'm sorry, I just had a birthday. 37 years old, I don't even think I can strongly, confidently say that I'm over it because I still cry. I still tell people my story. Um, I do have a great, great, great father-in-law. That's
Mhm.
amazing to me.
What about your grandfather? Do you feel like he ever took that? Or
No,
no?
I feel like he's always been Grandpa Rose.
Yeah. Okay.
Grandpa
Uncles.
Jimmy's. No, uncles always treated me more like cousins, because they were such a close-knit family.
Okay.
So I never really looked up. I mean, of course, I had two uncles, one's passed. My other living uncle, I do admire him and look up to him because, he served in the army and, he went,
Great guy.
yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Real stand-up, trustworthy. Um, what is the word I'm looking for? He's a real, he's full of
Admirable.
integrity.
Okay.
Yeah, he's full of integrity.
And so do you feel like you've ever had a father figure besides your father-in-law?
No, I would say that confidently. I do not feel like I've ever even had a remote father figure other than my father-in-law. It's just a lot to it's to this day I reach out to family of his, my half sisters and even his ex-wife, and I have another brother that's also named Rudy like me,
That's crazy.
and they do not he's made it clear to the kids and whoever I reached out, like, no, I'm not going to
Yeah.
acknowledge me.
Yeah. And so but at one point in time he was in your life.
No.
No?
He as far as I know, my mom left him when I was 4.
So that's your last memory,
That was
literally.
Yeah, that was my
Your
last memory.
one and only memory because you were too little. So the
Well,
one that stood out was the most traumatic.
yeah, because it was a violent one.
Yeah.
It was a violent one. And it has to do with my mom literally grabbing me, running to the car,
To save,
reversing
to
it,
save you
and
guys.
while this guy is, running after the car, running after the car.
Yeah.
Actually, when I believe, I want to say I was 14. I was maybe 14 years old. I was at Fiesta, Texas, and my mother pulled me aside, and my mother said, "Hey, son, don't want to alarm you." But mind you, she knew that I had been trying to search for my dad, and this was before I even realized I had sisters. But she said, "Your father's right there," and I was like, "What? Where?" And she's like, "Don't even look." She was so embarrassed. She's like, "I don't even want him to see me."
Mm-hmm.
She
And probably also scared if he was abusive.
Yeah. Or she's like, "Do you want to go say hi to him?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously I do. It's all I ever wanted. I'm pretty sure I was 15, 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk up to him. Mind you, we have the same name. So the first thing I do is I pull out my season pass and I cover my picture on it. And I'm just going to go up to him and be like, "You recognize this person?" I don't know what
Tell your dad that?
yeah, that was my goal.
Okay.
That was my goal, was just cover my picture and be like, "Hey, sir, do
you know who this is?
you know who this is?"
And you're standing right there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did actually. I
Okay.
did actually. And he thought he dropped his He was like, "Oh, did I drop it?" I guess he was a season pass holder. So I was with my cousin Evelyn, and my cousin Evelyn, who was a little older than me, but she remembered him during the marriage of my mother and him.
Yeah.
Uh, and my cousin Evelyn goes, "It's little Rudy." And then he looked at me. He's like, "Little Rudy? Oh crap, you're not so little no more." Because
Mm.
I was a big guy, and so we talked for a little bit. His family kind of moved aside. They moved around, and he stayed behind. And he talked to me for a good solid 4 minutes, just asking me how I'm doing, how is my mom, where is she at? She's over there hiding in the
Mhm.
bushes. But I asked him for his phone number, and I was like, "Hey, can I have your phone number?" And back then we had house phones with caller IDs and everything like
And
that.
you were probably terrified to ask him for his phone number.
Yeah, I was. And he had it right on his belt band. And so I asked him for his phone number. He said that he was not able to give me his phone number because the phone that he had was a company phone. And mind you, this was all by like when cell phones first came out.
Mhm.
So
Like the card
yeah,
phones. Yeah, like the prepaid.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much. And so he's like, "But if you give me your phone number, I'll call you." And he's like, I thought he was serious because he even said, like, I don't want your mom to answer the phone. So like, you have to be there. So we were gonna see the Fiesta Texas light show. Remember, he used to have like
Yeah.
the show on the brick wall,
Mhm.
and now it's a drone show. But back then it was like about Davy Crockett and
Yeah.
stuff. So we were gonna see that, which started at 9, and he was not gonna see that. So I convinced my family to leave early and not do that show,
So you could go
so
wait
I
for
can
him.
go home and wait for him, right? So we can talk, right?
Yearning for that
Yeah,
relationship.
I was so excited. I couldn't even breathe.
Yeah.
I
'Cause you were
could,
anxious.
yeah, I couldn't even breathe. And so my mom's like, she was just like literally giving me a burst of encouragement. Like, "You finally did it,"
Like
even
happy
though
for
she
you.
knew.
What kind of man he
And
was.
she knew he was gonna let me down, but she didn't care. She was like,
She wanted you to get the opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, she was just rooting for me.
Yeah.
And so I get there, I'm like, "Everybody get off the internet."
Yeah.
Everybody's
'Cause you can't be on both.
everybody just stop. And so my mom's like, he's gonna call, don't worry about it. He's gonna call, just kind of pushing and making sure that I was okay. And then he never called.
And that broke your heart.
Oh man, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I didn't even go to school the next day. My mom let me stay home. I was
What did you tell
so
your mom, if you can remember?
I just remember her like waking me up in the living room by the phone. Uh,
'Cause you fell asleep waiting.
yeah, I fell asleep waiting. I fell asleep waiting. And I remember I was peed. I peed myself. I had peed in the sofa, which I can't understand why I did that, but I
Maybe
did.
you were, like, trying to hold it and you didn't wanna miss it, or
Maybe. I don't know why, but I remember my mom was like waking me up peacefully and telling me that I needed to change because I wet the sofa.
Mm.
Or, now that I think about it, maybe it was just because I was, you know, uh, I had trauma,
Yeah.
and
You were
I was
anxious.
anxious and I
And
was
that's
nervous.
actually something that does happen, though. Like, some people pee when they're anxious.
Yeah.
It's like
And I'm not
nervousness.
embarrassed to say it, but I fell asleep. I woke up all covered in pee, and my mom was just like, "Go wash up. Go wash
Mm.
up, son." And I was just like, "He never called." And she's like, "No, he didn't. He never called.
Mm.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Go wash up. You're not gonna go
Mhm.
to school today." And that was it. That was the last time I saw him.
But that makes you feel not good enough.
Well, I mean, you're not having a father figure in your life that's somebody that's a dad title. You're always never gonna be not.
No, you are, but you can't see it because you feel, because you are enough.
Yeah.
You are enough, right? But, like, being that kid, because I experienced that same thing, right? My dad was this kind. I couldn't have his phone number because his wife didn't like it.
Right.
So he would call me private. I could never call him.
That's
I
so
could
weird.
never have a phone number. He would call me private. I couldn't give him gifts. I couldn't do nothing because his wife didn't like it. So wife became first. It was like, not my kids, whatever. Or kid. I'm his only child, so I can't even say kids. So I couldn't have his phone number. There were so many times when I was younger, I would say probably like 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna go pick you up. Be there waiting, ready to go at my grandma's. Never come. And that's traumatic.
And your mom would pack your bag and stuff?
Yeah.
case he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's like that's traumatic, right? Because at the end, you're 6, 7, 8 years old. You don't know how to process my dad didn't show.
Mm.
That just is like you feel like, what did I do wrong?
Blaming yourself.
100%, 100%. And that's not something
So
that,
you actually went back inside and was like, oh, it never came. Like you actually carried on your day.
well, I would cry.
Yeah.
I would cry, right? I would cry and I would be hurt. But it's like I wanted my dad so bad that I was willing to hurt myself every single time to have that feeling of what I always wanted up until this year. Like, still hurting myself, still being disrespected, still being treated poorly, still being everything, giving my dad everything.
Yeah.
Everything he needed. Like I said before, he said jump, I would say how high. And so I'm like, hey, it's not reciprocated. So this isn't going to be a one-sided relationship. And now at the age of 35, realizing I didn't need him.
Yeah.
And if anything, it taught me a lesson. But I'm a mom. So what I'm curious to know is, you're a dad now.
Yeah.
How do you become a dad? Because I feel like, there's that cliche quote of anybody can have a kid. Any boy can pop out a kid, right? But can you be a father? It takes a
Right.
man to be a father.
Well, I always say to myself, there's a huge difference between parenting and raising.
100%.
I strongly believe that. So a father, to be a father, I feel like it goes into a little bit of both, but more towards the raising part, because you have to, they're being grown and nourished to be raised however you implement it.
Exactly.
So
They're a product of you.
yeah, they really are a part. So with my children, which I have 3 children, my oldest is 13 and my youngest is 7, and I have a boy child who's
Mhm.
7 years old, 2 girls. Well, I know that they love me because I've asked them.
Yeah, no, I've asked them too, because you want to make sure
Yeah.
that you're giving them what they
Yeah.
need.
But my son, it's a different type of bond.
Yeah.
He's in the bed with me. He like watches TV with his pants on top of me, or he'll just kind of like play with my beard.
But the
And
girls are getting older.
yeah, they're getting older.
Yeah.
And Isaac, my son, he tells me, I want to live with you. I want to live with you.
Mhm.
But what I want to do is I want to make memories and knowledge and education with them that they picked up from me,
Mhm.
especially on things that are important,
Elaborate.
like how important it is to love each other.
Mm.
That's the biggest thing that I put in their head is like, hey, no fighting. This is your brother.
This is
your
all you
sister.
have.
This is all you have. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's important to love each other, love everybody. I also teach them about bullying.
Mhm.
That's also really big because, we're in a time right now where it's so easy to be bullied and people make bad decisions whenever they feel like they're trapped or they can't get out of being bullied. But what I do tell them almost on a daily basis is how important family is. Unity.
Mhm.
I want my kids to come to me for anything.
Feel comfortable,
Feel
confident.
so comfortable, and so far I'm on the right track. It's a constant reminder that I have to tell them, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I hear you. I understand. Your feelings are valid. That's why I don't really discipline my kids with like harsh parenting.
It's communication.
Yeah. I'm the first person to be like, hey, are you having a bad day? That's what come on, we'll talk about it. Let's go.
And that's good though, because I feel like you and I were raised with like,
The bell?
yeah,
Yeah.
like this is going to teach you not to do bad stuff. But I'm the same way. I have never laid a hand on Jalen. I did slap Eli once, which we'll get into that in a completely different topic. But I felt instant regret and I apologized because it's like, this is not the way we handle it.
Yeah.
I can communicate with you. And one time I heard a quote and it was like, you know what? Bad parenting is spanking because it means you can't communicate with your kid. You're so flustered and so frustrated that you're going to spank them because that's the only way you think you can teach them. But you can sit them down and say like, hey, why did we do that?
Yeah.
Tell me why. Walk me through your thought process. Help me understand it. And hey, let's switch it this way.
Yeah.
But we didn't come from a generation of that.
You know what? Anais is my oldest is so smart. I hit her like, and she looked at me and she goes, "You hit me."
Like hurt.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, come here. I'm so sorry. I was in the heat of a moment. I was frustrated not frustrated at you, but why did you do that? You know what I mean? Like, I never said like, well, you got hit for a reason.
Yeah.
I never said that. That was years ago too. But
But see, I like that you said that. I didn't, you got hit for a reason.
yeah,
Because that's used as an excuse. When I was being raised, right, my grandma, when I used to go to church, I used to be bad, right? She would spank me in the church. And she would, at the end, she would tell me, you know, I spanked you because I loved you. Which that's pretty toxic if you think about it, right? But it's like,
maybe she would say that because that's what was told.
exactly.
And it was
But I'm
generational.
saying we carry that with us from generation to generation. So at some point in time, somebody has to stop that. And so, like, you learn when I'm frustrated or I'm flustered, I don't have to beat my kids because sometimes I feel like sometimes I was spanked by my mom or beat by my mom because she was so frustrated. So, guess what? I'm the person she took it out on.
Yeah. And I could say the same thing too. My mom was working 2 jobs, paying everything by herself, making sure that we still had nice things. And you know, recently, like a year or so ago, I spanked Isaac him in the balcony playing with a lighter.
Hmm.
And he literally lit something on fire.
Oh,
Yeah, shit. And if it wasn't for my daughters coming into my bedroom and telling me like Isaac lit something on fire, and I go outside and there's a whole burn spot on the rug, cradled him, and I was just like crying. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That is not what we do.
I did
I
that
I,
with
I
my
want
daylight.
to know, why did you pick up that lighter?
Mm-hmm.
And he was already at that time. He was already so I don't want to say traumatized, but
Distraught.
he was so distraught that I had spanked him. He couldn't even breathe, and I was like, "Calm down, calm down." Then him not breathing caused me not to breathe, so we were both crying there, looking at each other like sobbing face to face.
Like, why is this
Until
happening right now?
finally, yeah, until finally we kind of like got tired of it, and then I said, "Do you know why I got so angry? Do you know why I'm hurt? Do you know why? Um, you know what you could have done was very bad." And I spanked you because I didn't know. I told him, I was like, I spanked you because I didn't know, but I would never do that again.
100%.
And
I did that
since
with Eli.
then, since then, he has never picked up a lighter. He has never, I feel like now he knows, he looks at things, and then if he knows that he's doing something wrong, because he's a smart kid, he'll look at me and he'll stop.
He's like,
So,
would dad like this?
but does that cross the line between like discipline or respect? Because
It's both.
I don't want him to like,
It's communication
I don't want him to think like he's scared of me. Like most
because you want to be the safe space. See, I just had a conversation with my cousin about this the other day. I said, you know what, at the end of the day, like the world is so crazy and so hectic and so much is going on that you have to be your kid's safe space. So it's so hard being a parent because you're teeter-tottering this, I need to discipline them because I want to make sure that they're in line. But for me, discipline means communication. Or like, Jalen's older now, Eli's older now. Okay, so if you do this, we have set things, right? If you're messing up in school, okay, well, we're gonna take away the PS5, or we're gonna do this, we're gonna take away your phone. So there's like different levels to it, right? But the first for me is always communication.
For sure, that should be the first for him.
And I feel like if you have communication and you're open and honest with your kids, the respect is automatic because they see that you're respecting them by talking to them. Like, hey, dad does care because he is talking to me and he's explaining to me why I can't do this. Mine was like, I'm going to spank you, and it's because I said don't do this, right? Yours is probably the same.
I said something that I shouldn't have said, and that was like, you know why I spanked you, right? Because of what you did. But I don't want to discipline them because of what they did. I want to communicate with them.
Teach them.
Yeah, teach them.
Yeah.
And let them know, like, hey, what you did was wrong on so many levels. Do you know what could have happened? Imagine if something could happen.
Yeah.
And kind of instill that in their head. And I feel like that's something like I'm a first generation communicator when it comes to my
100%.
kids.
Yeah.
Because even right now, my cousins, they still smack the shit out of their kids. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I play with him, like, I'm gonna spank you. You know what I mean? But I don't.
It's words, empty words.
Yeah, empty words. I never do it though.
So then let me get back to this then. So, my dad used to tell me I didn't know how to be a dad because I didn't have my dad, which I think is a BS excuse because here you are, right? You didn't have your dad, but you're a pretty great dad. Like I always tell people, Renee is crazy and he's gonna do what he wants, but he's an amazing father. Like, he's always got his kids.
Thank you. Yes, I do always have my kids. And my kids always have me. But I feel like being a father, I don't think anybody is incapable of having a father intuition.
So you feel like that's just innate, like it's in you.
Yeah, you're born with it
Okay.
because you're born by your father and their father is born by their father. So I feel like you're
So do you feel like that's just a BS excuse of,
oh,
I didn't
100%.
have my
I
dad?
have my father, so I don't know what I'm doing. Or, okay, well, you learn.
Mhm.
You learn how to be a father.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to be a parent until we're a parent.
And nobody still knows how to be a parent.
Exactly.
They don't make any fucking how-to books. They don't tell you what to do. They're teaching you as they're going, and you're learning as you're going.
Together.
Yeah, and you're probably still learning things that you didn't even know to this day. You know what I mean? There's certain things that you never picked up on. But I feel like when it comes to being a father, a man is always going to have a father in them.
Mhm.
Because even if they don't have any kids, they were born from a father.
Mm-hmm.
A father made them,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth, right? So I feel like they're born with the will to provide, nourish, but be stern. Obviously, I would want them to communicate, but
It's just
reality
shoes you feel like you automatically jump into.
yeah.
Okay.
And you're gonna tell me that he's never been with somebody who has stepkids? He has kids?
Well, now, yeah, his last relationship. And so one time he got really hurt, right? Because we were together. It was just me, Jalen, my dad, his stepson, and his wife, my dad's new wife. And so I told Jalen, it's like, what would you rate me on a scale from 1 to 10, parent-wise, right? And she was like, a 9. Like, you can always improve. But she's like, I rate you a 9. I said, oh, okay, that's good. I'll take it. And then my dad was like, me? It's like, well, honestly,
Yeah.
you want the truth or do you want me to hurt your feelings?
Powerful.
Yeah. And so I was like, some work. And he was like, wow. And I said, honestly, Dad, you've been more of a father to your stepson than you ever have to me. He's been in his life. He's provided. He's done everything than I've ever had. In my whole life, I always say this. When I was a kid, I would say from the ages of 1 to 5, I don't remember my mom being in the picture too much because she was working and my dad was at home, right? So I remember being with my dad. Once they separated, I would say maybe solid from the age of like 6 or 7 to when I was like 21. Maybe I had a full solid 2 years of my dad in my life, but that was throughout the ages of 6 to 21.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
How do you feel about him spending time with his stepson? Because I also feel like I'm on that boat right now,
mhm.
but it's mostly because I live with my stepson. My stepson lives with me, right?
Yeah,
So obviously there's going to be a different bond. Anais has mentioned to me a comment,
like she's jealous. It
Right.
hurts.
oh, you're always with him. You're always with him. And I said, well, we
Live together. You don't have a choice.
Yes, I have you every weekend, Uh, So, and on top of that, he's a growing boy,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to make sure that he's okay because he's my only stepchild that lives with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure, like, are you good?
Yeah.
You're eating. I want to make sure
You're
that
providing for him that father figure that
Yeah.
you lacked as.
Yeah, we're actually filming this
In a back room.
in a back room on Mother's Day.
Yes.
So
Yes.
hopefully when it airs, it'll be different.
No, so you asked your question. How did I feel about my dad having a stepson, right? I honestly I did have I can't say I did have. I do like my dad's stepson, right? And I think it's different for Anais compared to me because I think if I was in her shoes, I would be jealous too, right? I'd be like, hey, that's my dad.
Is it a boy or a girl? Stepson?
He's a stepson.
Okay,
Yeah.
how old is he?
Well, he's been in my dad's life since he was like 8. Right now he's 18.
Okay.
So 10 years. So that's what I'm saying. It's a little bit different for Anais because she's 13.
Yeah.
I was 20 something years old. So I wasn't jealous, but when it came to my dad just wanted me to hype him up and give him a 9 like my daughter had just done. When I'm like, you don't deserve that number.
Yeah.
Maybe not for me. I'm like, ask him. Maybe he'll give you a 9, but I can't.
And he probably would.
Probably.
Probably would.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, I guess what is some advice that you would give to fathers out there who, they just became a dad, they didn't have a dad, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to um, keep trying to be the best dad that you could possibly be, even though whether you had a present parent in your life or an absent father in your life, keep trying to be the best parent, dad, father figure to your child, and never give up. Never give up, because your children will notice it. They will notice when you give up. They will notice when you venture off. Uh, but just keep trying to be the best parent you could be.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining me for today's episode.
Yeah, I hope everybody has a great Father's Day.
Yes.
I will be celebrating me for for everything that I've done in my life as a father. Even though I do applaud myself all the time, because I am pretty brilliant when it comes to being a dad, and I'm always participant, and I'm very, very active in their life.
100%.
Yeah, huge active in my children's lives. And that's what I juggle, not one, but two baby mamas. Two baby
And then your
and my
stepkids,
and my stepkids. Yeah.
your bonus kids.
Yes, my bonus kids. That's what they are, bonus kids. Be present in their life more than being perfect.
Mm.
Yeah. Be present in their life more than being perfect. Your time, attention, and love, it means far more than your children, than anything else. To your children than anything else. Keep showing up no matter what. I always tell people, show up, show up, show up. Keep showing up, keep listening, and never underestimate the lifelong impact of simply be there.
And before we close, on the note of stepfathers, my cousin's boyfriend just had an amazing quince. They did their job with their daughter's quince, my cousin and her boyfriend. What did he tell you? He's not a stepdad.
He just stepped up.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, Ryan told my stepson told me that. He's like, and my stepson last Father's Day called me Big Steppa all day.
Big step
He's like,
up.
what's up, Big Steppa? Because he just stepped up to the plate.
Love that.
Yeah. So we're not stepdads. We just stepped up.
There you go.
And that's amazing.
There you go.
Never stop showing up.
I love it.
Oh, this was fun.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
This was fun. Let's see. Let's see what we can do this again.
Yes, we have more to talk about. Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. We are on Facebook, Podcastle, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and TikTok. So I appreciate it. Thank you for streaming. And like I said, this is an early Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Father's
Father's Day.
Thank you very much.
And until next time, I hope you guys have a great one. Bye.